Iran announces countering the Israeli attack despite the damage. The Israeli Prime Minister and Defense Minister conduct a security assessment with top officials. And Israeli warplanes bomb Jabalia in the Gaza Strip, killing 3 civilians. You're watching Qnews. It's 8 p.m. local time, and this is this hour's news bulletin. And we'll start with the latest on escalating regional tensions. Iran has announced that its air defenses successfully detected and countered the Israeli attack, despite the limited damage. The Tasnim news agency, citing an official, has refuted Israel's claim that 100 military aircrafts were involved, calling it an exaggeration. Iran's air defenses reported that Israeli attacks focused on military sites in Tehran, Khuzestan and Ilam. Israel has announced striking military sites in Iran. That came as Israel described the action as retaliation for what it claims were Tehran's recent attacks on Israel earlier this month. Iranian media reported multiple explosions over several hours in the capital and at nearby military bases, though there were no immediate reports of damage or casualties. The Israeli military has announced it has completed targeted and precise strikes on military targets in Iran, describing the operation as a response to continuous attacks from the Iranian regime against Israel. Spokesperson Daniel Hagari further added that if Iran initiates further escalation, Israel will be compelled to respond. Israeli media sources have reported that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Yoav Gallant conducted a security assessment with top officials, reviewing the objectives of Israel's strikes on several Iranian sites. Reports also said Netanyahu received a briefing on the military plans included in Israel's response to Iran. Israeli opposition leader Yair Lapid has criticized Israel's decision not to target strategic and economic sites in Iran, asserting that Tehran should have paid a higher price. While Israel claims it hit major targets, Iran downplayed the strikes as weak with limited impact. Iranian media have, in turn, stated that Tehran's policy on aggression is to respond appropriately without haste, noting that Israeli attacks, though minor, cannot be ignored. For more analysis, I'll hand you over to Muna in our newsroom. Muna.
Thank you so much, Hani. And for further analysis on the escalating regional tensions, we're joined from Amman by military and strategic expert Major General Qasid Mahmoud. Welcome to you, Mr. Qasid. Now, what factors influence Iran's decision-making when considering a response to Israeli actions?
The main factors that determine the Iranian reaction is the nature of the strike and the circumstances of this airstrike. It is considered an act of aggression. Israel sees it as in line with its strategy of self-defense and in retaliation to the Iranian airstrikes. But I think it is an act of aggression against Iran. The other thing that affects this whole situation is the struggle that is in the Middle East between the fighting in the Middle East between Iran and Israel. Iran is the largest country that really threatens Israel in the region.
Right. General Qasid, how do regional alliances impact Iran's potential military response to Israel?
هل تؤثر التحالفات
Again, how do regional alliances impact Iran's potential military response to Israel?
In the region, there are two major alliances. The first alliance is the American-Arab alliance, and the second alliance is the Irani and a number of resistant movements and semi-countries in the region. They are not full countries. You have alliances with Hezbollah in Iran, in Lebanon, and you have the Houthi in Yemen as well. But for how long these alliances will remain, this is the question. You have a full alliance between USA and Israel, which is in war with some countries in the region. Israel have been affected by the exchange of and the missiles launched by Iran to Israel. On the other hand, you have USA, which feels responsible to defend Israel. And at the same time, there are some Arab countries who try to keep away from entering into any alliances, and many of these countries have denounced what Israel have committed yesterday and said it is an act of aggression against the sovereignty of Iran. Because these countries see this as danger to its national security. Because if these countries take the side of USA, then they are siding with Israel, and this will have consequences. Also, the region itself is subject of polarization. You have China and Russia are trying to interfere in the region, and there is a race to enter into coalition with some Arab countries in order to gain more ground in the region. So superpowers are trying to make use of geography to enter into alliance with Arab countries.
General Qasid, what are the potential risks and benefits of a direct military confrontation between Israel and Iran?
The risks are too many. There are direct risks for both countries, depending on the capabilities of both countries, that will reflect on many of the countries in between them. The area is rich of resources and will be affected very much by any potential war. The risks will the Middle East is very essential to the whole world on the economic level, and also because it's in the center of routes, commercial routes. But basically, the oil reserves represent 1/3 or more than 1/3 of the world's needs of oil. One of the largest countries, oil production countries of the world is the Saudi Arabia, and it's part of this region. Also, you have Qatar, which is the largest producer of LNG. So if this struggle evolves into a regional war, this will lead to an all-out war.
Right.
And this will have consequences on the whole world, especially when it comes to oil.
Right. That was the military and strategic expert, Major General Qasid Mahmoud. Many thanks for your valuable insights. And back to you, Hani.
Thank you, Muna. The Pentagon has announced that U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin received updates from his Israeli counterpart, Yoav Gallant, on Israel's strikes in Iran. Austin reportedly emphasized bolstering U.S. forces in the region to protect American and Israeli interests and sought further details on Israel's response. American media, citing a senior official, have reported that U.S. President Joe Biden encouraged Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to launch an attack on Iran, aiming to deter Tehran from future assaults. A senior Biden administration official was also cited, saying that any Iranian response to Israel will have consequences. Reports from American media have said that Israel's strikes included military targets across Iran, with planning intended to maximize impact. Reuters cited a senior White House official saying that Washington is fully prepared for any Iranian counterattack. President Biden has recently urged Israel to ensure its response is proportionate and minimizes civilian risk. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has said that the Israeli government, aided by Western powers, is attempting to ignite a regional conflict. Erdogan said that it is crucial not to fall into the trap set by Israel and its supporters. He made these remarks at a ceremony in Hatay, southern Turkey, where he delivered new homes to people impacted by the earthquake in February 2023. Erdogan also expressed well wishes to the Iranian government and people. In related news, American media, citing an Israeli official, have confirmed that Israel's recent targets in Iran were not oil or nuclear sites. Reports also indicated that Israel focused on locations that previously posed a threat to Tel Aviv and may do so in the future.
Right now, the Israel Defense Forces is conducting precise strike.
Iran has denied that any oil production sites were targeted during Israel's strikes on multiple locations. An Iranian official confirmed oil output is proceeding normally. Meanwhile, American media reported that Israel's targets were solely military, not nuclear or oil-related, following warnings from both the US and Iran against attacks on these critical areas. Axios, the American news website, has reported that U.S. officials anticipate a restrained response from Iran to the Israeli strikes, which could halt reciprocal attacks. Tel Aviv warned Iran it will launch a more forceful response should Tehran retaliate, with Israeli officials hoping the strike will end the cycle of mutual targeting. Tehran has resumed flights after a brief suspension due to Israeli strikes on multiple military sites. A spokesperson for Iran's civil aviation organization confirmed operations returned to normal at 5:30 GMT. Previously, the aviation authority had suspended all routes, and radar images showed planes avoiding Iranian airspace. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has reiterated that Israel had the right to defend itself and called on Iran not to retaliate. Delivering a press conference at the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, Starmer addressed the recent escalations in the Middle East and added that the Israeli aggression on Palestine needs to de-escalate. Smoke has risen in northern Israel with the sounds of sirens and an explosion heard. The Israeli occupation forces said they had successfully intercepted an unmanned aerial vehicle in the western Galilee area, which had crossed over from Lebanon. The Israeli occupation forces said it was the second UAV that had crossed from Lebanon within an hour that was intercepted. And now we move to the latest developments in Gaza. 3 civilians have been killed and others have been injured in the bombing of Jabalia by the Israeli occupation warplanes north of the Gaza Strip. The north of the Strip has been subjected to heinous massacres, ethnic cleansing and forced displacement for 22 days. Since dawn, the occupation forces have been blowing up residential buildings around the Al Fallujah cemetery in Jabalia camp, while the gunboats are firing towards the coast of Gaza City. Meanwhile, the occupation artillery is shelling heavily in the Nusayrat camp in the middle of the Gaza Strip. Multiple Palestinians have been killed and dozens have been injured in Israeli airstrikes on northern Qnews near a school in Gaza City. Medical sources reported that Israeli forces targeted the Al-Shahida area north of the town of Abbasan al-Kabira in Qnews, resulting in several casualties, among them civilians. Israeli occupation forces have withdrawn from Kamal Adwan hospital complex in northern Gaza 1 day after storming it. Palestinian Enclave's health ministry said the troops had detained dozens of male medical staffers and some of the patients. Health officials said Israeli forces had stormed Kamal Adwan hospital, one of 3 medical facilities struggling to operate in the area, and also stationed forces outside it. Before the occupation's raid, medics said at least 600 people had been in the hospital, including patients and their escorts. The Palestinian death toll from the Israeli onslaught since October 7th of 2023 has risen to 42,924 reported fatalities, with an additional 100,830. Occupation forces committed 7 massacres against families in the Gaza Strip over the last 48 hours, resulting in the killing of at least 77 Palestinians and the injury of 289 others, according to medical reports. The United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, has said that the rate of evacuating children from the Gaza Strip for medical reasons has decreased from 296 to 22 children per month. Spokesman for the UN agency, James Elder, stated during a press conference that the current rate of evacuating children from Gaza is less than 1 child per day. These are all the news we have for now, but here's a reminder of today's main stories. Iran announces countering the Israeli attack despite the damage. The Israeli Prime Minister and Defense Minister conduct a security assessment with top officials. And Israeli warplanes bombed Jabalia in the Gaza Strip, killing 3 civilians. This concludes our news bulletin for the hour, but please don't forget to follow Qnews on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram and TikTok at QNewsEG to stay informed. For real-time updates, connect with us on the UMS digital platform. Watch it. I'm Henny Saif. Thank you for joining us.